these are the things that help you get over the top, and they got it. You know,
You
obviously.
need a support. You need a support team. But one thing that I will say, and I'll tip my hat out to Giannis, and we're gonna kind of like mix both topics right now. With this, what I'm gonna say right now. I tip my hat out to him because, like you said, he stuck with his team. He wasn't focused on getting the big names.
Yeah.
And he's proven, hey, look, I'm not leaving. I'm going to get it done with my guys. And he got it done. Now, let's talk about the disappointment. And I was thinking about this the other day. I said, wow, I think, once again, there's nothing against LeBron James. We've said it in the past. You know, we can't knock his talent. We can't knock what he does. But one thing that is catching up to him at this point, people could say his age. No, he's still playing on the top of his game. Mm-hmm. What it is finally we're seeing what can happen when you trade off your young guys to try to get elite players. Mm-hmm. He traded off his young core.
Yeah.
Right? Now let's not act like LeBron James did not play a part in that, because he definitely did to get an Anthony Davis. Right. So let's touch on that a little bit. Where in the atmosphere of the NBA right now, like we said, some of these young teams like the Phoenix Suns, the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, this is a different atmosphere. It didn't make sense for the Lakers to trade off their young core to try to win 1 year, and it kind of like backfired.
It did. It definitely backfired, but you know, a lot of that goes into that. But before I touch on LeBron James and the Lakers and how that backfired, and yes, they won the championship last year. I'll touch on that too. I just want to close by giving Giannis the proper love. And like I said, he's 26 years old, 8-year pro. Now he's an NBA champion. He's also a Finals MVP. He's also a 2-time NBA MVP. He's a 5-time NBA All-Star. You know, he's an All-Star MVP. He's an NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He's an NBA Most Improved Player of the Year at some point as well. This guy, you know, you got to give him his roses, as they like to say. He deserves it, and he's just a genuine human being. So I'm happy for that organization, even though that's not my team. Everybody knows who's my team.
Can you mention it?
I just want to close that with that, but
no, we weren't closing it. We were gonna mix the two because we were gonna compare both players.
Yeah, so you know,
what we're gonna do.
So now to your point of what you said with LeBron James and the Lakers, yes, when you deplete your roster for big names, right? You're gonna have lesser role players on the team. It's common sense. Your salary is invested in 2 or 3 guys, and it's harder to get quality role players that when now your 2 or 3 guys, which we saw in case of Anthony Davis dealing with injuries in the playoffs and during the year, and even LeBron at times dealing with injuries. Now you need your role players to step up, and when you have not the best role players because you couldn't afford it anymore, it hurts you. You need a deep roster, and I think that's where, you know, LeBron is messing up, especially later in his career. The formula worked earlier on in his career when he was young and he was spry.
When the NBA was young, when the NBA was different as well.
And not only that, remember, he did it when Dwayne Wade was still young. That's when they paired that up. He did it with Kyrie Irving when he was still young. Yes, Kyrie's always been injury prone, but he was young. But now he's trying it with Anthony Davis, who's also older in his career. LeBron James is 37 years old, so he's not a young guy. I know he's playing young, but he's not a young guy. So that formula doesn't necessarily work. You got to invest in some of the youth, like you said, and you got to build role players around it. And that's how you're going to get it done today. And Giannis proved that.
But that's my point. And so we weren't leaving Giannis. We were actually going to stay there a little bit and kind of now intertwine it with the Phoenix Suns. Yeah. So let's talk about the Phoenix Suns.
Great year.
Nothing against them at all.
No.
At all. Whoever says, no, they won. They won.
Yes.
They won.
Great year.
Can you touch a little bit? Can you touch a little bit on your opinion on what you feel, even though they lost on what the Phoenix Suns was able to do?
Oh, it was a great year. I mean, this all started from the bubble. Remember, and the bubble was without Chris Paul, mind you. So they was already, ripping off wins left and right and starting to show what good young talent they have on that team. Then they added Chris Paul in the offseason and hit the ground running with a Hall of Famer. That I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer at least. But they hit the ground running with him. They became
Monty Williams.
Monty Williams, great coach. They became the number 2 seed in the West, right? They obviously have Devin Booker, who became an All-Star. DeAndre Ayton, in my opinion, will be an All-Star. At some point or another, he will be an all-star. He's a great player. Mikal Bridges is a two-way player. Jay Crowder. I'm just going down the line with names.
You needed those role players, the Jay Crowders of the world. Yeah. You need that to win, to even get close to winning a ship.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Cams. I like to call them the Cams, which one of them might walk away this offseason. But Cam Payne played amazing, the lefty point guard. Big role for them. You also had Cameron Johnson, who's a very young small forward in this. He doesn't miss from three-point land. These are the role players you need. And then obviously, like I said, they were number 2 in the West. They won in the first round against the Lakers, against LeBron, right? And, this is a team that hasn't seen the playoffs in 10 years.
That's already setting the statement when you beat LeBron James in the first round.
But also remember, a team that hasn't seen the playoffs in 10 years. Yeah. So for them to do that and then go to the finals, and then let's not forget, they were up 2-0 in the finals.
Oh, yeah.
So Giannis came and took it, but they were in control. So this young Phoenix Suns team is a scary team, and I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done yet.
Now, thank you for mentioning that. Now, let's touch on the Phoenix Suns. See, we're going to keep intertwining the topics because it's crazy. All the topics that we're talking about today kind of goes together, right? Because now we just mentioned Giannis, right? We just mentioned LeBron James and how we compare them and what Giannis was able to do, keeping his young core and sticking to his team, and what LeBron James didn't do, what he leaving his young core. Now, let's add a Devin Booker.
Oh,
Devin Booker, same thing. He's stuck with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
He could have left, but he chose not to.
He signed that max deal. He likes being the man of that team. And yes, some people are going to say it's Chris Paul. No, Chris Paul just got there and he's later in his career.
No.
Devin Booker has been there since day one, and they're building around him, and they're giving him pieces to work with. Chris Paul is just one of those pieces, and I'm not saying that's slightful because he's a Hall of Famer, of course, but they're giving him what he needs to excel, right? And Devin Booker, look, you said let's touch on Devin Booker, so let's touch on him appropriately. Let's put this in perspective. He's a 6-year pro, right? That hasn't seen the playoffs until this year. He went all the way to the NBA Finals. A 6-year pro who's a 2-time All-Star, who averages 25, 4, and 4 in the regular season, who took those averages up to 28 points per game in the playoffs with 5 rebounds and 4 assists on 100%. Good, efficient shooting. So this is a guy that is only 6-year pro. He's 24 years old. He's going nowhere. And I don't mean that like he could leave Phoenix at some point. I don't know. It could happen. But I mean, in terms of his play and his name, this kid's going to be a dangerous guy in this league for years to come.
Not going to be. He is.
Oh, for years to come, too. I'm just saying, like, some people look at it like, oh, he went to the finals. Oh, he didn't win it. That's it. He's never going to. No, this guy he's a special talent. He's only 24 years old. I repeat, 24 years old.
Correct.
He's got a lot of time left.
It's crazy. It's crazy when you really think about it. I mean, I feel like I've been hearing Devin Booker's name for a while in the league. But that shit just comes to show you in the few years he's been in the league, what type of noise he's been able to make.
Well, you got to remember, he got drafted by a bad team, right? Because he got drafted.
Small market, very small market. And he got into the Phoenix Suns when they were.
Well, that's what I mean. Remember, he got drafted number 13 in his draft. That means the team had to be pretty bad, right? Before that. You're talking about they drafted an 18-year-old kid, because if you do the math, he's 6 years in, he's 24. They drafted an 18-year-old kid, and you're asking him to take control of the team that quick? Slow down. But he's 6 years in.
At the time, they had Eric Bledsoe.
Which hasn't amounted to much, let's be honest. I think he's a good role player, but look what he did with the Bucks. He was okay with the Bucks. He leaves the Bucks, they switch the point guard, and they win the championship. So, I think they're giving Booker the right pieces now in Phoenix. I think they got a lot of good role players. My only question mark, and I posed this to you actually, and I know how I feel about it, and we'll see, but I think Phoenix can continue to be a very relevant team. My question mark with that team is Chris Paul is a free agent. They better find somebody if he walks, or else they're going to be in trouble.
Well, this is the thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because look, this is the thing. Before we pressed play, I mentioned that. I said, even though yes, they had a great run, the question would be for Chris Paul.
Right.
This was his chance to win a ring?
Oh, absolutely.
Is he in mind thinking, regardless he's competitive or not, am I going to be added in the list of the great players that retires without a ring?
Yeah.
So I think at this point, Chris Paul's career, he's looking to win a ring.
Right.
Now, that could play a big part on his decision and what he chooses to do, right? Does he want to try to do this again with the Phoenix Suns? That will be the question.
Right.
Right. I think Chris Paul's mentality right now is, I got a couple of more years left. I want to win a ring. We're onto something here in the Phoenix Suns. So I would say he would not walk.